Today we're going to be looking at quadratic functions. So a quadratic function is a nonlinear function of the form y equals ax plus bx plus c. So if you have a highlighter, it's a good idea to highlight that. So this is just what we call the general form. Anything that looks like this in math is quadratic, and it's quadratic because the leading exponent is 2. We're squaring things. And we already saw that squaring numbers is interesting. So A, B, and C are just numbers. Replace any types of numbers you want with A, B, and C. Now, the number for A, the number in front of the x squared, is unique. It's going to tell you a lot of things. So, for example, if A is greater than 0, meaning positive, right? So if A is positive, the graph of the function opens up. Okay? What that means is it's going to have this U shape like this. It's going to open upwards. You'll see in a little while how that's going to look. Okay? However, if A is less than 0, so if that number in front of the x squared is negative, the graph of the function opens down. So instead of opening upwards, it's going to do one of these. Okay? All right. And so we're going to notice that. So before we do anything else, we can just take a look at that and decide, is it going to open up like a U shape, or is it going to open down the opposite of that? Okay. And then we're going to discover a few other things along the way. So we're going to start with graphing the most basic quadratic function, y equals x squared. And based on this answer, we're going to be able to get some others. Now, one thing we have to realize is because of the nature of squaring that we just saw, when you square opposite numbers, you get the same answer. When you graph this, there's some symmetry, there's some mirror shaping. Whatever happens on one side is going to be identical on the other side. And because of that, we want to center it around wherever the axis of symmetry is. And we'll talk about what the axis of symmetry is in a moment. And for us, it's going to be 0, yeah. So the middle number, we're going to pick 0. And we'll pretty much pick that all the time. Next year in Algebra 2, it's going to be shifting. They'll show you some other characteristics, and it won't always be 0. But for us, it's always 0. All right. So we need some numbers above 0 and below 0, and they have to mirror each other. So if I pick 1 here, I have to pick its opposite on the other side. Yeah. And I'll pick 2 here, and I'll pick its opposite on the other side. Yeah. So we're going to square. Now, because of the math we're going to be doing, what's the coefficient? What number is in front of x? Well, which number is in front? Even though it's not showing, it's there. 1. I heard some people. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 times x squared. You'll see why in a moment. So we're going to do 1. In this case, because it's a function table, we're going to replace x with whatever the number is in the function, negative 2 squared. Then we're going to do 1 times negative 1 squared. And then 1 times 0 squared. And then we'll do that with each of these. Okay? So let's just do that. This is the math we'll perform. So we reached the arithmetic portion of our lesson. Order of operations. Remember, you do the exponents and then everything else. So we do have an exponent, negative 2. If we square negative 2, what do we get? What's negative 2 times negative 2? 4. So this is going to be 1 times 4. And the answer is 4. So we get an ordered pair out of this, negative 2, 4. We'll be graphing that shortly. Let's do the same thing with the next one. We're going to square negative 1. It's negative 1 times negative 1, so it's 1. Right? And then it's 1 times 1, so the answer is 1. So we get a point at negative 1, comma 1. Okay? And then 0 is the easiest. You get 0, of course. 0 times 0 is 0. And so 1 times 0 is 0. This is 0, 0. Okay. And now something interesting is going to happen, because 1 times 1 is 1, right? Yeah, we're going to get that 1 again. But this time it's 1, comma 1. Okay? And repeating again, because 2 times 2 is 4. So this is 1 times 4 again, which gives us a 4 there. And we get 2, 4. So this is where that symmetry comes in. So let's plot some points. Try this one. My purple was kind of messing up. So we want negative 2, 4. So we're going to go negative 2 over 4 up. Then negative 1, 1. Negative 1, 1 right there. And 0, 0. Okay. And you can already tell it's not going to be linear there. And then we want 1, 1. So right there. That's the mirror point across from it. And then 2, 4. 2 over 4 up. Okay. So this is not going to be a straight line by any means. It's going to be a curve. It's going to be a smooth curve. So it's going to come down, touch all the points, and then swoop around and go back up. Okay? It's going to be one of these. It's called, the name of that shape is a parabola. Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of weird. Parabola. Sorry. You got to be used, though. Yeah, satellite dishes are based on this. Lots of things in nature are based on this. Well, gravity at least. The force of gravity on something as it's moving forward gives it a parabolic shape. Okay, if you ever, go to a drinking fountain, press the button, the water doesn't just shoot up. Gravity forces it down as it's going like this. The shape is parabolic. Okay? Lots and lots of things in nature. Like I said, satellite dishes are based on this shape. So this one, let's write a few things that we know. How did this open? Up or down? Up. As it should, because the a value, the number in front of the x squared, is positive. Every quadratic function has a axis of symmetry. It's an imaginary line. In this case, it goes through the y-axis. I think for all of ours today. It has an axis of symmetry. And what this is, it's an imaginary line, and it's where the mirroring happens. Everything across from it is a mirror, has a mirror shape. It has an opposite. So this is called the axis of symmetry. Later on in the year, we're going to be looking at graphs that have this kind of symmetry in other forms, but this is the first one. Okay? Any questions? So this is our first quadratic function. It's not linear. Yes? It's going to be down the middle. Yes, it has to be, because that's the only way it would have the opposite. But sometimes it shifts. Yeah, it shifts to the left or right. But that's next year in Algebra 1. For us this year, it's always through 0, 0. Okay? All right, great question. So let's do one that opens down now, okay? You guys ready? All right, let's do the next one. This one obviously opens down because the number in front of x squared is actually -1. So this should open down. And we'll look at it in a moment. Let's go ahead and do the math. So this one is -x squared plus 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is write that in here, -1 x squared plus 4. And that's the math we're going to perform. Okay? We're going to pick the same numbers, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We're going to center it around 0 because that's our axis of symmetry. Okay? All right, now let's do the math. We're going to do -1 times, replace x with -2 squared plus 4. Okay? And let's just fill it in and then do the math. Okay. There we go. Any questions? All right. So it's order of operations. If you got order of operations down, this isn't difficult at all. Starting with, we got to do exponents first. But we've already know what -2 squared is. We did it up here, remember at the top? -2 squared is 4. Yeah, so now we know that this is +4, but we have to multiply it times -1. What does that make it? -4. And then you add 4. So it's going to be 0. So this much gave us 4 times -1 is -4. And -4 plus 4 is 0. So our first ordered pair is -2, 0. Okay, yes? Well, I think it's order of operations. You do have to do the multiplication before you add. Adding has to be the last thing. So here it's -1 squared. That's 1. So this -1 squared is really 1. And you multiply it times -1. That's -1 plus 4. Okay? 3. All right. And then we have 0 squared. Well, 0 squared is 0 times 0, so it's 0. And 0 times -1 is 0 plus 4 makes it 4. So let me catch up. I didn't write the ordered pair here. -1, 3, 0, 4. And let's see what we get next. 1 squared, that's 1 times 1, so it's 1. But you have to multiply it times -1. So we get -1 plus 4 again. 3. And there's that symmetry. So this is 1, 3.
What about the 2 though?
The 2? This 2? That's why we square it. That means multiplying it times itself. Like here, it's 2 squared, right? That means you multiply 2 with itself. 2 times 2. So that's going to make it 4. 4 times -1 is -4. And then you add 4. So it's the same result as you get there. So it's -4 plus 4, it's 0. So you get that. Okay, so let's graph this. negative 2, 0. That's right there. Then we have negative 1, 3. Negative 1, 3 is right here. And then 0, 4 is right there. And then 1, 3 is 1 over 3 up. So those are counterparts. And then 2, 0, 2 over, and stay right there. It's going to look like this. And this one is going to open down. So make sure it's a nice smooth curve, but it goes like this. Yeah, we'll be graphing them. That's the assignment for today. No, it's it's an IXL. Okay. Again, we have this axis of symmetry right down the middle, as all of these are. Now, I want to point out something, though. This one had a plus 4, right? This had a plus 4. This other one didn't, right? It didn't have plus anything. Do you see the result of the plus 4, what that might have done? I'll give you a hint. At 0, where did it cross? At 0 here, it crossed at...
3.
No,
4.
3. It crossed at 4. Okay, that's because of the plus 4. It shifted it up 4 spaces. Okay? It shifted up 4 spaces. All right. Any questions? Anybody still writing down any of this? Because I got to flip my paper over. Okay. So let's take a look at this one. Well, we got a couple things. We have a 2, right, in front of x squared. Is that positive or negative? So will it open up or down, do you think? It'll open up. First thing we should say, okay, it opens up. That's what we expect to see. And we have minus 4. What do you think minus 4 is going to do to our parabola? Yeah, it's going to shift it down and cross at minus 4. You'll see that. Okay? All right. Well, we've done a few of these. We'll do these. Let's write it down. 2x squared, then take away 4. That's the math involved. 2x squared, take away 4. Okay. And we'll pick the same values since we don't have... The only time we have to pick different values is if we have a fraction in front of the x squared, and that'll be the next 2. And I'll tell you what to do there. So here we're just going to count by ones, 0 in the middle. So I'll do 1 and 2 here, negative 1 and negative 2 here. Okay? So let's do it. I'm going to just plug in my numbers first of all. 2 times negative 2 squared, take away 4. 2 times negative 1 squared, take away 4. And we'll just do that for each of these. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. All right, you guys ready? Let me see a couple people still writing. Take a little coffee break. All right. Well, let's figure out this first part. Order of operations again. Negative 2 squared is how much? How much is negative 2 times negative 2? 4. So we have that 4. from negative 2 squared, but we have to multiply it by 2. So what's 4 times 2? 8. And okay, you were giving me the final answer, yes. 8 take away 4 is 4. But that's basically the math involved. We'll square negative 1, that's 1. Then that 1 times 2 is 2. But then it's 2 take away 4. So you have 2 and you subtract 4. Negative 2. So we got negative 2, 4, negative 1, negative 2. Let's do this one. We've got 0. Squaring it is 0 times 0, so it's 0. Then 0 times 2 is 0. And then we have to still subtract 4. So 0 take away 4. How much is that? Negative 4. You get 0, negative 4. Okay, that's that shift down. So now let's do this one. We should see things repeating. We got 1 squared. 1 squared is 1 times 1, so it's 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Take away 4. We got 2 minus 4 again. Your answer is negative 2. Okay. And here we have 2 squared. That's 4 times 2 makes it 8. Take away 4. We get 4 again, so it's 2, 4. Okay. So now, let's see where these points are. We want negative 2, 4. Right there. Negative 1, negative 2 down here. Okay. And then we have, what's our next one? 0, negative 4 right there. And then 1, negative 2 right there. They're counterpoints. And then 2, 4 back up here again. So we got something like this. And then we'll just, comes down, makes a smooth curve around, and then shoots back up. And it opens up. Okay. Now, we talked about this minus 4. Where did our graph cross the y-axis? At negative 4. And that's because of this minus at 4 at the end. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? On today's assignment, you're bound to get 1 or 2 that'll look like the next 2 that we're going to do with fractions. So I'm going to show you how we handle that. It's not too bad, actually, but they are fractions, so we got to keep that in mind. You guys ready? Yes. As soon as we're done with this. All right. Let's go ahead and try the first one. Y equals 1/2 x squared. First of all, opens up or down? What kind of number is in front? Positive or negative? It's positive 1/2. So it's going to open up. It's going to do one of these. Am I adding or subtracting anything? Do I have plus something or minus something? So it's not going to shift up or down. It's going to go right through 0, 0. So automatically, those are things you should look at. Okay? Positive or negative number in front to see if it opens up or down. Am I adding or subtracting, which would shift it up or down? So it's positive, it'll open up. There's nothing being added or subtracted. It goes right through 0, 0. So it's going to do one of these. Okay? So you start getting an idea of what it should look like. All right. So now, the thing is, it is a fraction. So let me write down the formula or the equation part. X squared, 1/2 x squared. And what's the denominator? 2. So that's the key. In order for us to get nice numbers, we want to pick multiples of 2. Okay? Pick multiples of 2. You don't want to pick 3 or 5 or 7. And you want to keep the number small. And do yourself a favor, since you know it goes through 0, pick 0. Zeros are nice. They give you nice, simple answers. And besides 0, what's the next smallest multiple of 2? No, 1 isn't a multiple of 2.
Negative 2.
-2. We want -2. We have to have -2. And +2. Okay? So we'll pick those numbers instead of the numbers we've been picking. Multiples of 2 because of the denominator. Now, let's do the math. 1/2 times -2 squared. 1/2 times 0 squared. 1/2 times 2 squared. Okay? All right. So you guys ready? Order of operations, we have to do -2 squared. We know that's 4. So this is 1/2 times 4, but I want a fraction. Turn it into a fraction because you got to do some multiplication with fractions. The number 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1. Because I got to multiply fractions now, guys. Remember how we multiply fractions? Numerators with numerators, denominators with denominators. So multiply 1 times 4. You get 4. Multiply 2 times 1. You get 2. I get 4 halves. 4 over 2. Simplify that. How many 2's go into 4? The answer is 2. So the answer here is -2, 2. Okay? We'll do that again for the other one. This next one is our easy one, because it's 0. Because it's 0 squared is 0. We end up with 1/2 times 0. And what does that give us? What's 1/2? What's 0 times anything?
0.
So 0, 0. Okay? And let's try this one more time here. We're going to multiply 2 squared. Well, that's 1/2 times 4. But think of it as 4 over 1. Right? And then if I multiply across, what do I get? 1 times 4 goes there. 2 times 1 goes here. If we simplify that, we get, so it's 2, 2. Okay. And this is the one that opens up. Let's plot these 3 points. -2, 2 is right here. 0, 0 is another point. 2, 2 again, right there. So you see how this is going to go? It's going to go something like this. Voila. Okay. Okay, we got one more to do. Well, a couple things on this one. First of all, does it open up or down?
No.
It's going to go like this. We're not adding or subtracting anything, so it's going to go through 0, 0. They're going to have that point in common, you'll see. Now let's look at the denominator. It's 3. So for our numbers to do the calculations, we should pick multiples of 3. So I want 0 for sure. What other number should I have?
-3.
-3.
And 3.
And 3. Okay, that'll make our math easier, believe it or not. Okay, so let's do this. You want negative 2/3 times negative 3 squared, negative 2/3 times 0 squared, negative 2/3 times 3 squared. Okay, let's do it. Let's square negative 3. That's negative 3 times negative 3. That gives us, don't say negative 9. What's negative 3 times negative 3? Yeah. So this is negative 2/3 times 9 over 1, right? And again, you're just multiplying two fractions. So you multiply negative 2 times 9. That's negative 18. 3 times 1 is 3. I end up with negative 18 thirds, or negative 18 divided by 3. Negative 6. So negative 3, negative 6. Okay? And then this one's an easy one. Negative 2/3 times 0. And 0 times anything is 0. Let's do the last one here. Negative 2/3. 3 squared is 9 again. So we get 9 ones, which gives us negative 18 over 3. We get negative 6 again. Negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. So this time it's 3 negative 6. Okay. All right. Let's plot these points. Negative 3, negative 6 is way here at the bottom. Right there. Then we have 0, 0. This point's in common. Then we have 3. Didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you're right. And there you go. Opens down. Okay. So on IXL, we'll be practicing this graphing skill. Okay. If you're keeping your notebook and you need to paste this in, glue sticks are on the side over there.